I remember the sound of the air conditioner. That is the first thing that comes back to me. Not the doctor's face, not the color of the walls, but that low, incessant hum of the AC unit in the corner of the room. It was a Tuesday, 2:15 p.m. I was 24 years old, and I had my entire life mapped out. I was going to be an architect. I was going to travel to Italy. I was going to fall in love, have a family, grow old, and die in my sleep. Then, the doctor cleared his throat. It was a dry, professional sound. He shifted a piece of paper on his desk, and he didn't look at me. Not really. He looked at my file. And then he said the words, HIV positive. Just 2 words. But they didn't sound like words. They sounded like a gavel slamming down in a courtroom. In that split second, the hum of the air conditioner stopped. The traffic outside stopped. My heart. I think my heart stopped too. You have to understand, back then, and even now, in the dark corners of our minds, that wasn't a diagnosis. It was an expiration date. It was a scarlet letter branded onto your soul. I looked at his mouth moving. He was talking about T-cell counts. He was talking about viral loads. He was talking about specialists and regiments. But all I could hear was a voice in my own head screaming, "It's over. It's all over." I felt dirty. I felt terrified. But mostly, I felt a profound sense of mourning for the person I was 5 minutes ago. That innocent, naive young man who walked into the clinic worried about a persistent flu, he was dead. He died in that chair, and I was the ghost he left behind. I walked out of that office into the bright afternoon sun. People were walking their dogs. Someone was eating a bagel. A bus drove by. It felt offensive. How could the world keep spinning? How could the sun keep shining when I had just been handed a death sentence? I wanted to grab strangers by the shoulders and shake them. "Don't you know?" I wanted to scream. "Don't you know that time is a lie?" I went home, locked my door, and sat in the dark. I didn't cry. I was too shocked to cry. I stared at my hands. They looked the same. I looked in the mirror. I looked the same. But I saw a monster. I saw a ticking time bomb. I thought about my parents. How could I tell them? I thought about my friends. Would they wash their coffee mugs with bleach after I left? I convinced myself that night that my life wasn't just changed, it was finished. I began to mourn myself while I was still breathing. And that is where the first lie began. The lie that tragedy defines us. The lie that a diagnosis or a bankruptcy or a divorce or a failure is the period at the end of the sentence. I spent the next 5 years believing that lie. 5 years. That's 1,825 days. I spent them waiting to die. And looking back now, at 70 years old, that is the only tragedy of my story. Not the virus, but the time I gave to the fear of it. I withdrew. I stopped dating because who could love someone like me? I stopped planning for the future because why save for a retirement I wouldn't see? I stopped dreaming of Italy. I stopped living. I became a professional patient. My identity was consumed by my status. I was no longer a man. I was a statistic. I was a cautionary tale. But here is the thing about rock bottom, about that moment when the floor drops out from under you. It is quiet down there. And in the quiet, if you listen closely, you start to hear the truth. It took me years to hear it. I was so deafened by my own self-pity and terror. But eventually, the truth broke through. And when it did, it didn't come from a doctor. It didn't come from a priest. It came from the most unexpected place imaginable.
Let me tell you about the shadow life. It's the life you live when you are hiding. For those first few years, I was an actor on a stage, performing the role of a healthy, happy young man, while backstage, the theater was burning down. I became a master of deception. I hid my pills in vitamin bottles. I changed the subject whenever health came up. I avoided intimacy like it was the plague. Ironic, isn't it? I remember a dinner party about 2 years after my diagnosis. My friends were laughing, complaining about their bosses, complaining about the traffic, complaining about the weather. They were upset that their latte was cold. They were stressed about a deadline 3 months away. And I sat there, sipping water, looking at them through a pane of glass. I wanted to smash the table. I wanted to yell, "You fools! You have the luxury of boredom! You have the luxury of a future!" But I said nothing. I smiled. I nodded. And inside, the resentment grew like a cancer. I hated them for their ignorance. I hated them for their freedom. I was jealous of their trivial problems. I would have given anything to worry about a cold latte. I would have traded my soul to worry about a deadline in 3 months. Because in my mind, I didn't have 3 months. This is what trauma does to you if you're not careful. It separates you. It makes you special, but in the worst way possible. You start to believe that nobody can understand your pain. You build a fortress out of your suffering. And inside that fortress, you are safe, but you are alone. Desperately, achingly alone. I remember one night, waking up in a cold sweat, convinced that a simple cough was the beginning of the end. Pneumonia, the grim reaper. I sat on my bathroom floor at 3 a.m., shaking, bargaining with a God I hadn't spoken to in years. "Just give me 1 more year," I whispered. "Just let me see 30. I was bargaining for time, but I was wasting the time I had. I was hoarding my days like a miser hoarding pennies, too afraid to spend them. I was alive, yes. My heart was beating. My lungs were filling with air. But I wasn't living. I was merely existing. I was a biological machine maintaining homeostasis, devoid of joy, devoid of risk, devoid of connection. And society didn't help. The stigma was heavy then. It was a weight you carried in your chest. The whispered jokes, the news reports, the fear in people's eyes. It reinforced my internal narrative. You are damaged goods. You are dangerous. I let that narrative dictate my choices. I turned down a promotion because I didn't want the stress to weaken my immune system. I didn't go on a trip to Spain because I was afraid of getting sick in a foreign country. I pushed away a woman who truly loved me, Sarah, because I couldn't bear the thought of having the conversation. I broke her heart to save myself from the shame. That is a regret that still wakes me up at night. Not the virus, but Sarah's face when I told her I didn't love her, just to make her leave. I lied to save her, I told myself, but really, I was protecting my own cowardice. This went on for years, a gray, flatline existence. I was safe, I was responsible, I was adhering to every medical protocol, and I was absolutely miserable. I was a dead man walking, not because of the virus, but because I had killed my own spirit. Then came the hospital visit. Not for me, for a friend, Mark. He didn't have HIV. He was the healthiest guy I knew, ran marathons, ate kale before kale was cool. We worked together. He was 28. He was crossing the street to get a sandwich, and a taxi didn't see the red light. I sat by his bedside in the ICU. He was hooked up to machines, far more machines than I had ever seen. His parents were there, destroyed. And looking at Mark, seeing this beacon of health broken and fading, something cracked inside my brain. The fortress I had built, a brick fell out. Here I was, convinced I was the fragile one, convinced I was the one marked for death. And here was Mark, who had everything I envied, the clean bill of health, the future, and he was gone, just like that, in the blink of an eye, in the screech of a tire. It hit me with the force of a physical blow. The virus wasn't the enemy. Death wasn't the enemy. The uncertainty wasn't the enemy. The enemy was the illusion of control. The enemy was the assumption that anyone is promised tomorrow. I walked out of that hospital, and for the first time in 5 years, the air smelled different. It did.
That day changed everything. I realized I had been mourning a future that was never guaranteed to begin with. I was mourning the normal life. But Mark's death taught me that normal is a myth. We are all terminal, every single one of us. From the moment we are born, the clock is ticking. My clock just happened to have a louder tick. And instead of letting that noise drive me crazy, I decided to let it drive me forward. I stopped asking, why me? And started asking, what now? I made a radical decision. I decided to live as if I had exactly 1 year left. Not in a reckless way. I didn't go out and blow my savings on drugs or fast cars. I mean internally, emotionally. If I had 1 year left, would I stay in this job I tolerated but didn't love? No. Would I hide from my family? No. Would I deny myself the taste of good wine or the feeling of ocean water on my skin because I was sick? No. I quit my job. It was terrifying. I had medical bills. I needed insurance. But I found a way. I started consulting. I made my own hours. I started writing. I finally took that trip to Italy. I remember standing in the Colosseum, touching the ancient stone. I thought about the thousands of people who had died there. I thought about the emperors who built it, thinking their legacy would last forever. They were dust. I was here. I was breathing. I felt a surge of gratitude so powerful it brought me to my knees. I started dating again. And this time, I was honest. On the third date, I would say it. I have something to tell you. My heart would hammer against my ribs, but I did it. And you know what? Some people walked away, and that hurt. But some people stayed. They saw me, not the diagnosis. They saw the man who had walked through fire and come out the other side holding a torch. I met my wife, Elena, 2 years after Mark died. When I told her, she didn't flinch. She took my hand, looked me in the eye, and said, "Okay, we deal with it together." That moment was more healing than any medication I have ever taken. It taught me that vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is the only way to let love in. I realized that my diagnosis had given me a superpower. It sounds crazy, I know. How can a disease be a gift? I would give it back in a heartbeat if I could, but I can't, so I have to look at what it gave me. It gave me the ability to cut through the bullshit. I don't have patience for petty drama anymore. I don't care about keeping up with the Joneses. I don't care about what people think of my clothes or my car. When you have stared into the abyss, the opinions of others become remarkably quiet. I developed a laser focus on what matters: compassion, beauty, kindness, the present moment. Most people live in the future or the past. They are anxious about what's coming or regretful about what's gone. I learned to live in the now, because for a long time, the now was all I thought I had. And in doing so, I discovered that the now is actually all anyone has. I remember sitting on a porch with Elena, watching a storm roll in. The sky turned purple and green. The thunder shook the floorboards. She was worried about the garden. I just sat there, drinking tea, watching the power of nature. I wasn't afraid. I was awestruck. I felt connected to the storm, to the earth, to her. I felt more alive in that moment, with a compromised immune system, than I ever felt when I was healthy and numb. People ask me, "How do you stay so positive?" And I tell them, I don't have a choice. Negativity is a luxury for people who think they have forever. I don't have time to be miserable. I don't have time to hold grudges. If I'm angry at you, I will tell you, we will fix it, or I will move on. Life is too short for unspoken words. I started volunteering with newly diagnosed kids. I saw the same terror in their eyes that I had felt, the same feeling of it's over. And I would sit with them, hold their hands, no gloves, just skin on skin, and tell them, this is not the end of the book. It's just a plot twist, and the best chapters are yet to come. I watched them grow. I watched them fall in love. I watched them build careers. And I realized that we are not defined by what happens to us. We are defined by how we respond to what happens to us. We are the alchemists of our own lives. We can turn lead into gold. We can turn pain into purpose.
I am 70 years old now. According to that doctor 46 years ago, I shouldn't be here. I should be a memory. But here I am. I have gray hair. I have wrinkles. My knees ache when it rains. And I love every single ache. I love every wrinkle because I fought for them. I earned them. I look at my contemporaries, the ones who were healthy back then. Many of them are gone. Heart attacks, cancer, accidents. Some of them are still here, but they are bitter. They are angry about getting old. They are trying to hide their age with surgery and die. They are clinging to a youth that has fled. Me? I wear my age like a badge of honor. Every birthday is a victory. Every new year is a bonus round. I don't fear death anymore. I stared it in the face at 24, and we came to an understanding. Death will come when it comes. My job is to make sure that when it arrives, it finds me living.
So why am I telling you this? Why are you watching a video about an old man and his virus? Because you have a virus too. It's not HIV. It's something far more insidious. It's the virus of someday. The virus of I'll do it later. The virus of comfort. You are walking around thinking you have time. You are stressed about your job, about your social media likes, about your bank account. You are holding back your love. You are holding back your dreams. You are waiting for the perfect moment. You are waiting for permission. Let me be the one to tell you, permission is never coming. The perfect moment does not exist. And later is the most dangerous word in the English language. Don't wait for a tragedy to wake you up. Don't wait for a doctor to walk into the room with a grim expression. Don't wait for a phone call in the middle of the night. Wake up now. Look at your life. Really look at it. Are you living it, or are you just managing it? Are you the protagonist of your story, or are you an extra in the background? If you died tonight, would you be proud of the last 24 hours? Did you say the things you needed to say? Did you forgive the people you needed to forgive? Did you taste your food? Did you look at the sky? I know it sounds cliché, old man giving advice, but clichés are clichés for a reason, because they are true. And usually you only realize how true they are when it's too late. You don't need a near-death experience to have a new life experience. You can choose it right now. You can turn off this video, pick up the phone, and call your mother. You can quit the job that is draining your soul. You can book the ticket. You can say I love you first, without waiting to hear it back. My diagnosis was the hardest thing I ever went through. It broke me, but it also broke me open. It forced me to find the core of who I was. It stripped away the vanity and the ego and left only the essential. I want you to find that essential part of yourself without the trauma. I want you to learn the lesson without the scar. That is why I am speaking to you. That is my legacy. Life is fragile. It is terrifyingly, beautifully fragile. It is a soap bubble floating over a cactus patch. It shouldn't last, but it does. And while it lasts, it catches the light. It reflects the world in rainbows. Be the bubble. Catch the light. Don't worry about the cactus. The cactus is coming no matter what. Enjoy the flight. I'm 70. I'm HIV positive. And I am the luckiest man I know, because I know the value of a single breath. Do you? Don't waste yours.